Just two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? Hey, Kelly, how are you today?
Doing great, Daniel. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm really grateful to be connecting with you today. Um, yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I got into hypnosis and hypnotherapy back in the 2000s and had been on that path, and it's fascinating, doing that kind of work, right? You just said you just did some past life regressions, and
Yeah.
don't we? Because people like ourselves were so open that yeah, we could just be transported, or like, I was right there, man, I was riding shotgun with you on that horse or whatever, like right in their past life. Like, we're those kind of people. We can do all kinds of magical things with people and have magical experiences within their inner, so-called inner realms or whatever, like so I just want to just start the show by just saying, hey, you do some really cool work in the world, and I appreciate who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Curious, you got into it to learn about hypnosis, or you practice it also? I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I was a hypnotist and hypnotherapist for a number of years in private practice, and I did it here and there in the beginning on when I was online at first, and would incorporate sort of some of the principles of hypnosis certainly too, and like clearings I did and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, it's potent stuff. Over the years, I just kind of shifted towards just the energy work and stuff like that, and Mm, but it's still a part of my awareness, the some of the principles that go into that. And let's go deeper. I mean, I'm just playing with you because I mean it is all for people's betterment. It's not like we're trying to trick somebody. It's like, yeah, let go more.
I have a new business partner with this venture. He's on the other side of the world. He started out as my web designer. He took over my marketing, so knows nothing about woo woo. And I was explaining him what I do, and the first thing out of his mouth is like, "That doesn't really work, does it?" For the last 28 years, I've been doing it professionally. It works.
Amazing. I mean, there are changes that happen that nobody, could never happen otherwise, without this tool, at least the people that came to me, right? People that couldn't lose weight, all of a sudden, like one session, like I took off 20 pounds in that one round or whatever. Like just incredible things can happen. I can't even see the buffet when I go to eat food now or whatever. Yeah. Some of those things didn't always last, to be honest, but like with that buffet one, but like the suggestions are so strong, like it really could shift people quickly. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned last time we spoke. My first book I published a few years ago was called Weight Loss from the Inside Out, all about the mental game. Because I used to be a personal fitness trainer. And even
Yeah.
then, it was people come out of, oh, I'm so fat and ugly. I'm never going to change. I'm like, you can't say that. You can't,
Right,
you can't,
right, right.
you can't say that out loud.
Right, right. Right, I'm sure it was something like that, but it was in this guy's subconscious that he needed to hold on to the weight, I suppose. I quite don't remember the details. I just remember I'm like, I'm going to speed up your metabolism. I'm going to get to the roots as well, and it's coming off. Maybe that suggestion alone did the whole trick. You just don't know what is the one thing that might have unlocked, that subconscious. I think that's a good principle for people with mental health issues too, that struggle with that, men and women, but like, you never know when you're going to get one insight, one thing that might happen that might change the whole game for you. Like, I never have been acknowledged that way. I've never heard that idea before, and that changed my life. I hear it that, that happens all the time, right? So, I mean, you never know what can make the difference. Never give up hope. That's the
Yeah,
message.
I think that applies to being a seeker. You know, when people are looking for this information and knowledge, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mhm.
And, you know, you find all of a sudden you run into somebody like, what a coincidence. Well, people think it's a coincidence, but you were searching for that. You ran into someone that gave you the information. That's how life unfolds.
Right, right. Yeah, you get it. I mean, so I love that you've done all these things. I love people that are into doing transformational work the way you do, and have done things also like being personal fitness trainers and all kinds of other things, and worked on the whole being more and whatnot. It's really cool to me. I kind of geek out sometimes on nutrition information and fitness and stuff. Not that I do everything that they're talking about, because I don't agree with all of it, number one. Number two, I'm not that crazy with all that stuff, but I geek out on the information because it's fascinating to me, like the different things. But so I always love talking with people like you, because I'm always curious. Well, what's your thought on this or that? Picking people's brains a little bit. Like you always have new insights for me, sometimes at least. And sometimes it's like, hey, have you heard this? Maybe I have heard something that sometimes people have been studying a long time, haven't even heard. Like I've noticed that on my shows and my interviews. Like you never know, right? We're constantly learning, I guess is my point. Like we're constantly learning. You know, like one of my clients is really knowledgeable in her field. She's like, listen, I'm constantly learning still. Like it never ends. Like I just learned this new thing today. She was telling me about it. We never stop.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing personal, I mean, I work out every morning anyways. I've worked my whole life. And so the last 6 months, me and my wife have been on this nutrition journey. And, you know, I was like, I've always been putting on muscle. I was like around 211. And I thought, it's too heavy. I want to drop some weight. So the last 6 months, I just hit the 31-pound mark. I got up at 180 this morning. So I dropped down to
Okay.
180 just because yeah, it's actually easy. I mean, the
Yeah.
discipline, the mind discipline's hard. That's why I wrote the book. But I mean, the calories in, calories out, it really is math when you really boil it down. But then we get the mental side of it that just pulls us off constantly, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, you're right. It's so. I think sometimes it's so easy that it's almost more fun for the mind to have drama, right? Like, oh, it's so hard. Oh, that's what's easy, right?
Yep.
You know, it seems like it's not that maybe it's more fascinating and easy. In a way, though, it's easier just to go and have what you want. You know, in other ways, it's a lot easier to do that, right? So it could be argued either way, but it's so fascinating that we want to hang on to the drama, the story, the beliefs that we have, and we don't even know we're doing it. Many times we don't realize, like, listen, you could just have it. Like, do you just want to just have it? You know, no, I can't. It's complicated. I don't want to lose weight, and like, I've heard it's more complicated than calories out. I've heard there's like, because there's tons of videos like that these days, right? It's not just that. There's so much clickbait. Like, oh my God, maybe there's another way. Thank God.
Right. Pastor, yeah, Miracle Way. Yeah, I remember the last time I was in Chicago with my friends. They're all pretty heavy guys, really heavy. And I just do my stretching. I'm a martial artist. I was running, and my one of my best friends, he looks at me, he goes, "What's it like to deprive yourself from food?" I'm like, "It's interesting you think I'm depriving myself. That's interesting viewpoint."
Right, right, right. I
Yeah.
remember when I was really rigorous with my diet at one point, like at a job I was working. Um, you know, a guy came up to me. He's like, well, yeah, you're eating healthy, whatever, but that's so boring. Like, that's so boring. Like,
That's
so
exactly what I tell
when
people. I like my diet clean and boring. I love it. I eat this almost the same thing every day. I love it. I love it boring.
yeah, I mean, there is evidence to show that that may be the best way. Like, it's shit. If you're just consistent on what you eat, like maybe it's not, if it's all crap, maybe not. But even if you're just consistent, even if it's not optimal food, that's even better for you. If you're just eating all this random processed food, like that's definitely not good for you.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
anyway, I mean, those things matter, you know, for mental health. You know, like you know, are you paying attention to that? Are you, because honestly, if I go on a binge, like, oh, let me for Christmas, like, let me just go ahead. I never eat all this sugar. I'll eat a bunch of sugar. And next thing I'm like, what the heck? I got all these people over and like my mood's getting weird now. I'm like, why did I eat all that sugar? I shouldn't have. No, I shouldn't be eating that much sugar. That's crazy. And
Yeah.
like, oh, you deserve a break today, right? The McDonald's. Eat some crap, you know, like
Yeah, my wife was a little upset during our journey. How come you can lose weight so fast? I'm like, because I believe it's going to happen. I mean, the belief
Yeah.
factor is everything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even,
yeah. Once you just decide, to me, it's like when you decide, it's over with. It's like when you truly decide. Like people think they've decided, they haven't, right? Well, I'm going for it, but
yeah.
maybe not, right?
Even like you said, even when you do have like like I said, I'm a martial artist. I've never missed a UFC fight. Every Saturday night, I get my thin crust pizza, sit in front of the fights and watch them, but I enjoy the hell out of it. And then I carry on the next day. Where like my wife, she's like, can you believe I ate like crap 2 days ago? I'm like, wow, you're still doing 2 days ago? Holy cow. That's,
Right.
yeah, that's worse than eating the food, is carrying it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that true? Like that's one of the reasons why I don't go with a pristine perfect diet for me anyway. Like that's works better for me at this point. Like, because I can be really hard on myself. I'll be like, well, you piece of crap. Like, what did you eat that for? Like, I'm like, okay, whatever. Just come back to center is my motto. Like, if you're gonna slip off and decide you're gonna enjoy something, enjoy it and just learn from it. And just, maybe make a different choice next time or just come right back. Because what most people do is they go on a bender and they stay on it, right? Like they don't
Yeah.
just come right back, which if you just come right back, you're basically going to be fine. I mean,
Right.
that's where, yeah, the thin crust pizza once a week or whatever, like, not going to be a big issue. But yeah, especially if you're in a place of lightness and joy and whatnot, that makes a huge difference too. How are you going about, these things? Like if you're a higher vibration, I do believe it makes some difference.
Right.
Although, I think most people kid themselves on stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it does help.
Yeah. Yeah, there's levels to the vibration, but even the bender you're talking about, it's like the equivalent of you get a flat tire, you're just gonna get out and shoot the other three flat. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
okay.
we're shooting them. We may as well shoot them all.
Yeah, let's just eat everything now. Well, no, wait a second.
That's fun. I kind of like shooting my tires, right? I'll cancel that. Let's clear that from the consciousness. I like tires are filled and strong. And
Right, exactly.
so yeah, it's interesting. So are you, as a metaphysician, martial artist, personal fitness, hypnosis guy, and everything, what do you think about this? Now that we're sort of on this topic, like this idea, like I just did a thing where like, oh, let's watch those thoughts because they are very creative, right? They find a way into our lives if we're not careful a little bit. Like,
Watch what?
and
I'm sorry, Daniel, what'd you say? Watch what?
like our thoughts,
Oh,
and especially when we say things, like how fast things can start happening if we're not. And especially those are for me, like that happens. Like some people get nervous, like when I start talking about things extra, because sometimes I get a commanding energy on something, and then all of a sudden it happens. Like, well, if people hear me in that, if it isn't positive, like my family members are like, alert, alert, cancel. Like that's it. They've seen things that happen, good and not so good, right? So like, yeah, so how much are you into that? Are you one of those like watch all your thoughts type of people, or how are you with that?
um, like you said earlier, I use the ABC, always back to center. Life throws you off all the time. How fast you get back to center is everything. So, yeah, the thought process is part of it. I call it the conscious therapy part of my work. Self-talk, I explain to people, as soon as you start that negative self-talk, you have to identify it first of all. Take a deep breath, get back to now, and then start talking positive. So, yeah, there is a system where sometimes if I'm really exhausted physically and mentally, I'm just like, oh, I'm like, okay, let's not do anything right now. Let's not think at all because
Yeah.
let's just reboot, just take a nap, whatever I need to do, meditate. But yeah, I'm always making sure my thought process is in the right direction, positive. Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about, you've usually people that do a lot of different things to help people, like have gone through a lot of their own stuff. So can you tell us a little bit? I know you do actually have a really big story about that. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory as a guy and some of the challenges you've run into in your life that kind of, set off some mental health challenges for you? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, there's a couple main ones. The one when I bring up with my clients because I work with a lot of couples, and when I talk to the male of the couple, it's they're so intimidated by feelings and emotions because we are taught as young men that those are weaknesses. I was taught that. Grew up in Chicago. My dad said, you guys keep crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Me and my brother were like, I don't know what that means, you know. But so that was instilled. That was a weakness. We knew that. So getting over that, and then as I was growing up, I was in grade school and high school, and my teachers would actually. My brother was a year older than me. You're Dan's younger brother. He's so much smarter than you. You'll never be that smart. High school teachers like, why don't you drop out of school, Fish? My last name's Fisher. Everyone called me Fish. Why don't you drop out of school, Fish? You're wasting your time here. Why don't you go get a job? I was just looking back at it. I'm like, I can't believe the way teachers spoke to kids, but I had to go through I went through therapy. I go through a healing process to realize that that's him. This is me, and it was a profound. I was actually in San Diego at a seminar, and he did this little meditation at the end. I wasn't expecting it. I did this meditation. He said, what's holding you back? We were in, deep hypnosis meditation, as you know. And all of a sudden, I thought I was over it. And I saw my brother and things he was saying in the school. And I had a vision of, I was still juggling these balls from the past. And I thought, I just raised my hands and just dropped the balls once and for all. And when I got home from San Diego, I literally got out my sketch pad and I sketched pencil art, a picture of me with these etheric gray balls that I dropped. And at the bottom, they were all bright red, bright colors at the bottom. So I literally drew that vision. It was so profound to me. And I really felt like that was a breath of fresh air. I finally left this behind me. So that was a real breakthrough when that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to what you said earlier. I think I mentioned this when we talked, earlier, whatever, it was a week ago or whatever, before we got this set up is, yeah, I got that from my dad too, which he probably got it from his dad, I'm guessing, or whatever. Like the whole, I'll give you something to cry. I'm like, I'm like, what the heck? Like for me, my dad wasn't so scary and intimidating, but that was something that he would say. And then I was just more like, kind of like, that's a weird thing to say. Okay, whatever. So, I mean, but yeah, it's interesting, that idea. It's a whole thing of, yeah, for guys, I guess, again, comes back to not, don't be, because I don't remember him ever saying that to my sister, right? I'll give you something to cry about. No, I mean, no, it was me I mean, just that was a difference right there. It's like, no, for the guys, you're not supposed to cry, the usual thing.
But like you said, it's definitely handed down from generation to generation. And that's one of the things I do when I do age regression, like with a male client. We'll go back to 8 years old when he had that thing with dad in hypnosis. And one of the first lines I give to speak out to dad in hypnosis is, you did the best with the tools you had. Because that's usually a true statement.
Yeah. Yes.
They were programmed with bad tools, but they
Yeah.
did the best with the tools they had.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, that stuff is definitely handed down from generation.
Yeah, and that helps us to have that sense of forgiveness, right? Okay. Even if you know that logically, you need to be reminded sometimes. Hey, listen. I mean, like for my dad, he was really an amazing dad given his background. Alcoholics, drug addicts, and stuff, and whatever. All this background he had in his family, and being abused, and like, I don't know, just lots of different things. He wouldn't even, when it's really bad, they don't talk about it, right? Like, I don't want to talk about that, right? They don't want to get into, they want to tell you about all that stuff, right? And so I just always knew that my dad, just staying stable, steady, going to work every day, taking care of himself. Like, I just somehow, based on what he said, and then it just, like, I just knew, like, that was big for him. Like, I'm doing my part in the world. Like, I have a family, I'm providing. He's emotionally, supportive. He's kind of quiet, kind of withdrawn, but he's supportive. And so, like, he was doing the best he could. And yet, yeah, as a little boy, like, you still want for more. Like, but why doesn't he play with me more? Why this? Why that? Right? There's always something, that we feel maybe we were, often that we feel we're missing. Not everybody, but like many of us. And they're doing man. He was superstar dad compared to what he dealt with growing up, as far as I can tell. Right? So, yeah, keeping that in mind is huge, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, as you know, the beautiful part about hypnosis. We can literally go back and We replace the trigger to it. We don't erase it because we're like rings of a tree. It's always going to be there, but we erase the trigger of it in hypnosis. So you don't feel that trigger here and now. It's an amazing process, as you know, the
Mhm.
hypnosis.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely. All right. So, so that was one of them. One of the things, I guess, is like that whole growing up with your dad and some of the messages from your dad. And then um, I know that as an adult, though, you run into other, like we all do, we run into other challenges in our life. And for me, it was, yeah, I was a sensitive inward kid and felt like, wow, I don't fit in, blah, blah, blah. And that was always an issue. But anyway, so as an adult, though, what kind of challenges did you run into in terms of, relationships or otherwise? Like, what are some of the big things that have happened that, you dealt with, and not only like hypnosis and the things you do, but like, how did you deal with them in the moment?
Yeah, no, I just want to touch on, you said, born sensitive and quiet kid, and I call it born awake. I was co-author in these 3 books in the Wake Up series. He has like 20 books. There's like 15, 20 authors. It's a collaboration thing. And my chapter was, I called it Born Awake. And the first sentence was, I know this sounds like an ego trip, but when I was a kid, it freaked me out. I did not like being born awake. I did not like being hyper aware of everything. I'm sure you feel that. And
Yeah.
later on in life, oh, I'm glad now for what I do for a living. I'm glad. But I've worked with clients that came in here and their son, son's on drugs. We need to help him. And I just started speaking to him. I'm like, the best news is he's awake and it's freaking him out. I saw myself in him,
Mhm.
trying to escape. I escaped through alcohol because I was like, oh, I can't figure this out. I think different than everyone else. It really, as you know, it's an overload that you have to get over.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I went to depression. I did. I mean, yeah. I mean, I dipped into alcohol, but it wasn't like I had a like so-called big problem or something. But like, I sort of, did things like that to try to escape or be cool or whatever. Um, but yeah, more so for me, it was just depressive. Like, okay, this is all sucks. This is all bullshit. Like, that's more my thing. So yeah, I mean, for me, like just doing creative writing and learning about psychology, going to get my degree in that, just learning it was okay to be me, like through sales, because like through sales, I had to actually talk, I had to actually show up. So like that was a way for me to break through too, and far before I got into you know deeper into like getting my own therapy more in depth. Like I got some therapy, I guess, maybe as a teenager, but mostly it was like meds. Like, all
Mm.
right, looks like you're crazy, here, take these pills. Because I was telling people back then I could move objects, I could blow things up. I was like, I already knew like I could do about anything, and when people questioned me, I'd show them it was true. Like, all right, let's go, let's tussle, or let's do this. I'll see what I can do. Hey,
Yeah, I always say I'm glad I grew up before the medicating the kids era because I'm sure I would have been heavily medicated back in the day. Yeah.
yep, yep. So, so yeah, so you mentioned about the alcohol and that. So that usually, and so did you find a path that helped you to let go eventually? Like some people go into AA, things like that. What helped you with that part?
Yeah, it's ironically I was because I'll get into the other part with my extreme anxiety, but I met my first wife and I just left. I was singing in rock bands. I was in Hollywood and
Mm-hmm.
I left that career and I got together with her. She never drank in her life. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I got a new, I started personal training then when I stopped singing in rock bands way back in the day. And I thought, what a good time to, I like her. I want to stay, I want to hook up with her. And she's never drank in her life. So I just literally just stopped drinking one day. And it just that went on 10 years while we were together. And so I mean it was easy, it was weird, it was easy. I just thought, as you know, when you make a choice, everything shifts,
Mm-hmm.
so that part was actually easy for me. Fast forward 14 years later, when she just decided to walk out on me one day. It's actually part of my TEDx talk I did a few months ago in New York.
Mm-hmm.
um, And, we woke up Friday morning, 10:30 a.m., laying in bed. She's like, I'm going to New York to pursue my music. She was a singer also. And I said, yeah, that's great. I'm supporting you 100%. She goes, I think we should get a divorce before I leave. And I didn't know if the floor was going to be there when I stepped out. I mean, it was like an out of body experience. I'm like, what are you talking about? Later on that day, oh, by the way, there's paperwork on the coffee table for you to sign. I went into this spiral, depression, anxiety, overload. It was bad. It was dark. It was suicidal. 2 months she was literally in a car driving to the airport, just pulled away without a tear in her eye, man. It blew my mind. It blew my world apart. And I was like a therapist maybe for I think 8 or 9 years at that point. And I thought I had all the tools. Wow. Boy, I didn't. So it took me, I don't know, I'm looking back maybe 5 or 6 months to really pull myself out from the other side. And I was working with a marketing coach. She's like, you need a signature program. I told her about that. She's like, that's it. I said, I'm not reliving that. No way. She goes, but think how many people you could help. I'm like, okay. So I have a 6-week online training program called Anxiety Solution. Just reverse engineered how I got out of it. No meds. Just started to slow my mind down, started to recapture my thoughts like we're talking about. And I pulled myself out the other side. So that was a heavy journey in my life, but it was a big learning curve. Meaning, I'm married now. I have a 6-year-old son. It was I wanted to commit suicide when it happened. Now looking back on it, every time I wake up and see my son sleeping next to me, I thank her for leaving. Like, thank you for leaving. Like, look at my beautiful life now. It's a blessing in disguise. You don't know it at the time, but that was a pretty heavy moment in my life that I got through.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you had no clue that this was coming. Like it's just like, boo, out of the blue. Hey, the paper's on the table. See you later. Wow. That's, yeah. I mean, I, you know, that is incomprehensible. No wonder you went into total anxiety. I mean, that would trigger so many things in most anybody. I mean, probably almost everybody. So that's pretty wild, like the unexpected aspect of it in on top of everything else, obviously, but like the unexpected nature is a total shell shock.
Yeah,
Wow.
like most people say, "Oh, there were signs," or "You saw it coming," or "She has somebody else." I wish all of that was true. It would
Yeah.
have been easier to deal with.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And you didn't say that, but like that's what I was hearing. It's like there was no signs, like literally out of the blue. And if there were signs, you didn't see them for whatever reasons, right? If there were there. But
Yeah.
wow, that's incredible. But it goes to show like the strength you have and the strength other people can have too is do what you can to get over it in a way. Like, I don't know that sounds bad in a way for mental health, like, oh, just get over it. But like, I mean, literally, like, you do want to get over it eventually because I know, like, when I broke up with one of my previous relationships, the time I was so in love with her, I was like, well, if this didn't, the conclusions of the mind. Well, if this isn't happening, then that must mean all this spiritual stuff's all bullshit, right? You probably said something like that. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Just throw all this crap all of it away. Probably wanted to burn my books at the moment. Like, and so, and then it's like, somehow you come back to being kind of, connected and awake again eventually. But yeah, those devastating moments can really reel you. And it can happen to anybody. I really do. I think it can happen to anybody at any time because you never know when something's gonna. Oh, that's the one we got you. And so I really am always mindful of that for myself too. Stay awake. Like, and if it goes dark, remember it's gonna pass. Like that's been one of my huge things that's helped me. Don't act on anything. Don't do anything crazy. Let the dark clouds pass, or do the work, whatever, all that stuff. But like, let it pass because it does feel at times, even when it's intense, it can feel like it's permanent. Like there's no way out of this. It's been going on for so long, or it's so intense, or whatever. And I'm just here to remind people, guys, there's help. There's a way out. Kelly's an example of that. I'm an example of that. Where even I don't know about you, but like for me, like there's so many years of my life with anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. And, it's yeah, but you can get to the other side of it, so to speak. And even to this day, I could have a dark night of the soul at any time. I don't know. It could come. So just to know, like, if it does come, be prepared. there's something here to wake up to, and once you do, you'll carry on from there. Oh,
Yeah, what come to mind while you're talking is the saying, if you're going through hell, keep going.
right. Yeah, just keep going. Keep,
Yeah,
no worries. I mean,
get to the other
ultimately,
side.
okay that it comes up. But the thing is not to do anything that you'll regret later, hurting yourself, maybe, I don't know, for guys, maybe getting violent, maybe hurting someone else, like even just verbally. I mean, not necessarily physically all the time, but there's so many directions you can go with it. And um, so, yeah, but yeah, it's something else. I mean, for me, meditation is the foundation for my life, or I'm lost. I like all the dials will start spinning like crazy eventually if I don't, create that state of being that starts with that foundation with meditation. What are some of your tools? I know, again, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, probably things like that, but like, what are some of your go-to tools for yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wake up at 4:15 every morning to go to the gym, take
Mhm.
care of myself there. Still meditate. I just got out of a meditation before this. I meditate 2 or 3 times a day still. So I'm just always about rebalancing and recentering. And one thing you said a little bit ago, I just want to bring up because, like, when I'm on podcasts or helping people, that's one of my taglines at the end. There is help out there because when you're in depression, depressing your own emotions down, your circle seems so small that nobody could ever understand what you're going through. That's the way it feels. But the truth is, somebody's been there. Somebody's been there and got out of it. So you're searching for the answer, searching for the truth, knowing that someone else has been there. Because when you're down that low, you think nobody can understand this. So
Right.
it's an
Right.
important, yeah.
Getting up early in the morning for you helps, it sounds like. And yeah, there's something magical about getting up early, that's for sure. I don't get up extraordinarily early at all, but yeah, getting up an early start with meditation, go for my walk, praying, getting to the gym, all that stuff. Like, it's so important. Like, just if you do have certain habits and you wonder if they're working or not, just try not doing it for 1 week. You'll find out how much of a difference it makes in your life. I
It's,
guarantee
it's
it.
funny. It's funny you say that because 3 months ago I got a nice plunge bath for my backyard, so I get in that for 6 minutes in the morning when I wake up, and then go to the gym. And the first few times was like, okay, this is really cold. I like the mental challenge, and so I mean I got used to it. Actually like it now. But that being said, my son has been off school for the last 2 weeks, so I'm like, I'm gonna sleep in today. I'm gonna take advantage of this. And the last few days I got up like, I feel like half the day's gone. I'm like, this sucks. I want to get back up at 4:15, and so
Right.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
exactly.
routine.
All you have to do, if you have any questions, just stop it for sometimes even a day or two. Like, you're right away. You're not. Oh yeah, no, 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 no. I like that practice. All the bitching and complaining. Even this, it happens. It all these years, like, it still happens for me. Like, I go on that morning walk, right? Like, even a walk. Like, I'm not even running. Like, it's just a brisk walk. So I go for my nice walk. This morning I hadn't done it in a while because I got distracted with holidays and stuff. So like a full walk, like you don't. So I go to do it this morning. I'm like, my mind's already trying to negotiate. Well, you haven't done it in a while. Maybe we'll just break in, just to go half of the way, or maybe we'll go maybe all the way. But now I'm like, we're going all the damn way. Like, this is not a big deal. We do this all the time. That's funny that how the mind's constantly looking for, like, how can we just be comfortable and survive,
Yeah.
basically.
See, like people like me and you that have done this type of work, we could actually sit back and watch our thoughts and watch our mind tell us to do that, which most people think they are that thought process. So they just get out of the cold or stop walking or whatever
Right.
the mind is telling them to do. But we can sit back and go, okay, my mind's saying, all right, you've been in here long enough, get out. This is ice cold. This is get out. And I sit there and watch my thought process. And it was a matter of a few minutes the first time I get in where I just settled in. I thought about the monks in the Himalayas where it was freezing up there. They took these ice cold frozen blankets and put them on them. In a matter of seconds, it was just there was steam coming off it. So I raised my internal temperature like they do. And I'm like, I could sit here all day now. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, and that's why I'm such a believer in the meditation, because I think that's a lot of the ability to be observant of your, know you're not your thoughts and all that. For me, that's kind of where it starts. And then, yeah, of course, like, yeah, our whole life's a meditation and all these other truths. But Yeah, but I don't believe that personally. I mean, anything could be possible. I don't know, but people that say I don't need meditation, I'm in such a connected state, you know, it adds nothing to my life. I just don't believe them. Like you always can go deeper in a connection. Like, I mean, look at the people that go to the other side. They know there's more of a depth. I don't care who they are. Once they go to the other side, they find another depth of life. We were talking about this because for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I've been on watching all these YouTube videos about near-death experiences, and people are just like, you know, the bliss you feel here on Earth. Well, imagine that a million times stronger. That's what you feel on the other side, at least it's some of their stories, right? And I'm like, whoa, like that is so potent to even consider, right? And it makes sense. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I haven't had a near death experience, but I did get run over by a trailer. And like, I had that experience of like, oh, it looks like I'm about to die, right? And I could just see like, yeah, I could see how that could happen because it felt like this is the end. Like I'm gonna go. Like, nope, you're still here, dude. Like afterwards, but I didn't even go down the tunnel or anything. But I had that no time, no space, no, just like I literally could put myself right back in that moment now. And it's not pain, it's completely peaceful. You're completely just present. You're just there. You're getting run over by a trailer and there's literally nothing but the presence. So in a way, it's maybe in a way one of my most beautiful moments of my life because I could feel the angels and everything when I revisit the moment. I was being saved. Something was there to bring me through. And so when you've been brought through things that you probably should have died from, or you know, it should have been catastrophic. I do believe there's divine intervention. Some came in and says, not your time. Like so many people go to the other side and say, not your time. You need to go back.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that happens all the time. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's
Oh, yeah.
story. He got run over by the truck when he was cycling, and just that whole story of he's going to fix his vertebrae, one vertebrae at a time, fix his
Yeah.
whole back. Just, just that. I mean, I follow him all the time. It's just actually, I was a co-author in one of the books. He was Dr. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza. There was 20 of us, but I took a
Yeah.
screenshot of us three because those two are my heroes. And I was just like, I'm in a book with the, I'm like not worthy to be in a book with these guys.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm in one of those books with Dr. Wayne Dyer, Michael Beckwith, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's cool. It is fun. Like I can't even shake people's perception of that either. Like, yeah, you're like best friends with Wayne Dyer, aren't you? I'm like, even if I try to convince them I'm not, they still believe it. Some of them, like, I'm like, sure, okay, sure. If you want to believe that, I mean, now he's not with us anymore, but back at the time, you know, that happened. So it's pretty fascinating. I mean, the power of those things. But yeah, actually, in that book, I wrote it for me. I wrote about my path with depression, and that I didn't remember everything I wrote because I wrote that was a long time ago. I got into that book, but you know, basically my philosophy with when you're feeling really down and you're depressed, like just keep like anything really. It's like take one step at a time. It's really simple. It really is. I mean, you get so dramatic about it because you're projecting the future, you're thinking about the past, but it really is as simple as what's the next freaking step to take so that you feel a little bit better, right? That's how I got through depression. Not medications and my, you know, that wasn't what helped me. Like what helped was just how can I feel a little bit better today? That was the only goal. And by just, you know, baby step in it, like that's what made all the difference for me.
Yeah, it's always about defaulting to solutions. Like even with my current wife, she goes down a path of, trouble. I'm like, okay, I understand the trouble. What's the solution? Let's come up with a let's come up with a path to get out. Let's figure this out. I'm always like, let's go right to there's enough facts. We built up enough facts. We don't have to bel- belabor that and make them have more energy than they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's figure out the solution for it. Let's go that route.
Right. Right. Yeah, I just had the thought again of that truism. They say feelings aren't facts. Often that comes up in relationships, right? Well, I feel like this. I feel like that. Okay, I understand. I mean, I appreciate that's what you're dealing with. That's what's coming up for you. That doesn't make them facts, you know. So, so yeah, let's. Yeah, the faster we can that is a definitely intention in the new year. It's like because I always say this, but then I find I haven't broken through yet. On like the habit, like when people get into worry and oh my God, what about this? What about that? Like, and if I get caught up in it, it's like the practice should be like, okay, just stop, let's pray right now, or something like that, right? Let's affirm. It's an affirmation or something like, so it's the opposite of what you're talking about, right? Like some kind of process just immediately. Why are we don't need to roll around in the shit, so to speak. We don't need to do that. We can just stop right there and everybody's going to feel better. I just did it last night on a mastermind for what, 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs or whatever. And like, I barely even been in there. It was my second time in there, but they know I do this work with Jesus and I channel Jesus and stuff. So they're like, something came up. They're like, okay, Daniel, why don't you just pray? Like, so I did. And then things went better afterwards, right? Things started flowing better. And like, it works. If we just stop the drama, just, okay, let's affirm what we desire right here. And nobody needs to be right, like that's crap. That is not the goal, to be right. The goal is for us to be in a great state, right?
Yeah, worry is a misuse of imagination.
Right. There's so many things, right? So many sayings and things. So man, you have so many practices. So how about martial arts? Seeing as that's not one that's as common that we've talked about here. How has martial arts helped you with mental health, strengthening your energy, etc.?
Yeah, just the discipline alone. I've literally been studying since I was 18 years old, over 30 years. And even when I first started, why do you got to bow every time? Like everyone that someone comes into class, everyone stops, bows. I'm just like, what's this all about? The respect. And my instructors told me that we're bowing to the God within. That's what Namaste means. So we're not bowing to the physical person that walked in. We're bowing to the energy and the God within. I'm like, okay, I could buy that. That's cool. And then when I started really learning to defend myself, I remember I was hanging way back in Chicago with my buddies. We were going out to bars, and I was just messing around with my friends. I was showing them something. My friend goes, "Oh, I can't wait to get to the bar to use this." I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no. This is so we don't have to use it. This is halfway through my martial arts career. I'm realizing I'm never going to use this stuff. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing all this so I don't use it. But yeah, just putting your body through that, the testing, the next level. Even when I was testing, I remember I was at this Taekwondo school in Hollywood, big
Mhm.
school, a lot of people testing for different level belts, and I'd always be sitting in the corner with my eyes closed, visualizing all my moves, and everyone's up there all nervous, going through their moves, and it's like they look at me like, "Who's a crazy guy in the corner with his eyes closed? We're about to do testing," but I never messed up in the mind. I went through everything perfectly in my mind, and then I'd get up and just apply it. So, yeah, it's just the mind and body thing. It's just something I've been in connection with my whole life.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I haven't been extensive with martial arts, but I've done different stints. Like, in college, I was in Taekwondo, and then as an adult, I trained with a buddy of mine. It's done a lot of different martial arts and trained me. His philosophy was just for fun to talk about. It's part of the goal of the show. It's like he was of the Bruce Lee kind of idea, right? I'd rather the idea of teaching somebody one kick perfectly versus like it teaches them 1,000 kicks, like practice 1,000 times versus 1,000 different kicks or something like that. I forget what the saying is, but along those lines. And so I didn't learn like tons of techniques from him, but he just keep bringing it back to the same kind of thing. Okay, now, okay, the teep kick, okay, that's important. Okay, let's practice again. Okay, let's practice again. Okay, now flip your hips when you do this kick. Nope, you're not right on that. We gotta get the technique right. When you get the technique right, it's not like, oh, you're pretty good on that. Allow me to teach you 10 other techniques. Like, because people get fascinated learning all this stuff, right? But it's like, I think it's a good foundation of life too. Like if you master the fundamentals, like, that's where it's at. You gotta master those fundamentals. And once you have that, like, when you add on, like, honestly, I mean, that it's not as hard to add on from there then. I mean, once you have those foundations of how to approach martial arts down, for example, and a lot of it is, a mental discipline, I would say. And then the execution is there because you're constantly in that mental practice, not just the physical, that's part of it, but like the mental practice. You practice every day. Every day you're practicing, no matter what. You don't miss a day, right? You practice every day, and that's the idea, is to be in that practice. And that's true with like meditation. It's like other things too, but martial arts, and then you're using your body, right? So it's very, I think it is very does instill a lot of confidence, I think, like a quiet confidence when done properly, not the aggressive kind of stuff that's out there. You rip their head off and you turn the gun around on them and like all this stuff. You better be. I remember I went to one school, because I've tried different schools at times, right? Going for the free lesson. Oh, I got so many stories there. You may have millions of stories, I'm sure. We won't get into all of them today, but like, okay, one of the schools I went to, I was, you're like, okay, go as hard as you can to this guy. I was just there for a practice lesson. Go as hard as you can. I'm like, bam, 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 whatever. They're like, they were surprised, I guess, by what I was doing. I didn't think I was that good, but like they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. The master comes bursting into the room. He comes in and he's like, all right, what's going on here? Well, he went after him hard and everything, and all right, you want to take this outside and everything. And instead of being scared, I was just like, I was kind of laughing about the whole thing. I was just like, because I'm a stupid young kid still in my early adulthood. I'm like, whatever, I'll deal with you if I have to outside, but this is ridiculous. Like, I was just stupidly confident, probably, but I'm like, but at the end of the day, it was just some kind of misunderstanding. Like, literally, they had like these a warring school in the area or something. They thought I came in there, and I guess I was flattered at the time. They thought that I, was good enough to go challenge them or something. It's weird. I wasn't that great, so it was kind of weird. But I had different school. That some schools are really aggressive. They're like, now, what do you imagine? Like, they grab your girlfriend or someone loved one. You better be ready for, trying to get you to sign for the classes. Like, it's pretty interesting. But true martial arts is really, for me, is just it always comes back to the inner mastery, right? So anyway, I could go on and on. You got me on a
Yeah.
roll.
No, no, yeah, it's yeah, you don't want to fight angry. That's not the goal. So that's a true martial artist is never angry. You said something about the basics though, because I compare it to martial arts to like meditation, because like if you don't get the jab, cross, hook, uppercut, if you don't get these basics down, like you said, you can't move on. And so it's always form, speed, then power. Everyone wants power right away, and it just doesn't work that way. You got to go form, speed, power. I had one of my clients when I was personal training. She came to my karate school because I told her about it, and she had like a few. She signed up, but she only came for a few classes. She's like, "It's boring. We're doing the same thing every time." I'm like, "Yeah, and you can't do it well yet. That's the point." That's
right. I never did master the uppercut. I mean, I got better with it, but I never. Even with, a fair amount of practice, not massive practice, but with a fair amount of practice, I still don't feel great about my uppercut. I don't, I continue to practice to some degree. I'm not on the daily lately, but when I do practice, yeah, I'm better than I used to be. It takes a lot, to me, it takes a lot to truly master, unless you're a really natural athlete, like maybe you can pick it up faster, but it takes a lot to master the fundamentals. It's no joke.
Because like I said, I've been doing it my whole life, and every morning at the gym, I go through my stretch routine, my martial arts stretch routine, and I'm so flexible that when I stand up at the Smith machine, I put my foot straight up to do the splits because that's where I'm at. And everyone's, I know people think I'm trying to show off. That's just my level of flexibility, and I do it every day. And, if some people are like, doesn't that hurt? I'm like, in the beginning it did. When I first started it, yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, especially, yeah, I mean, so what mental health benefits, back to the mental health stuff, we're just two conscious guys talking here. That's why we're having fun. But like, how does that, like having that level of flexibility, I know like my friend, he equates everything to life, right? With the ability to do this or do a handstand and, be able to maintain that posture and everything. Like, man, if you could do a handstand and maintain that posture, you'll be confident to do almost anything in life like that. He has those type of mentalities. Is that sort of part of what you get from it too, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to tag on for the, the basics, like we're talking about getting the punches down. with meditation also, because I have clients come in, and a lot of times when they're coming in for extreme anxiety, a couple of business owners I'm thinking of, and they came in, I explained like my out of body experiences, my lucid dreaming, just to let them know there's different levels of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to let them know anxiety. Yeah, we're going to get over that easy. There's other levels of consciousness. And so I had one client, he came in like a couple of times, like the third time he was in, I said, how's your practice? I record the session for him. I said, listen to it every day till I see you again. I said, how's it going? He goes, I haven't left my body yet. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not, it's like walking into the gym, say you want to bench 330. I'm like, no, well, let's just start with the bar. Let's just start with the bar. Let's slow your mind down to the speed you're living and get into meditation before you talk about leaving the body, for God's sake. So everyone wants to skip the basics, you know?
Right. Skip me to the fun stuff. Able to kick everybody's ass and everything.
Yeah, let's get right to it. Yeah,
Uh,
but in general, your question is, yeah, that's why I exercise every day. That's why I stretch every day. That's why I go through my kicks and punches, even though I'm just throwing air punches. There's a couple cool kickboxing classes at the gym I go to, UFC Fit. But yeah, it's just the discipline of I'm going to do this. And like you said, like people have back problems and hip problems. And, sometimes I wake up, my back's a little stiff after my morning stretch, gone,
yeah.
gone. Yeah, it is relating to life, how you take care of your physical body. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. So anyway, if people want to learn more about you, where could they go? We've had a great chat. You're obviously got tons of knowledge and wisdom and tools to help people. I think that's obvious from our conversation. Where can people learn more and get in contact with you?
Yeah, I have a couple free meditations. I have a corporate wellness program. It's a full day boot camp. I go into businesses, corporations. It's reduce stress, increase profits. And then the second half, I have a corporate stretch I put together to show them how to do stretches at their desk so they don't have tight backs and rounded shoulders from sitting at a desk all day long. So you can go there to get, I call it corporate quick break. You could go there, get the free meditation to start, like, download it, take it. Listen to it while you're at lunch or before work, after work. It's at mindcorpllc.com, mindcorpllc.com. Free meditation, download it, listen to it all the time. And then my private practice, I have a 6-month program of how to overcome anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. And I have a free meditation there also. That's Global Mind Stretch, globalmindstretch.com. There's a free meditation there to download. I call it Introduction to Anxiety. So you just listen to that. It's all about my motto in life and business is slow your mind down to the speed you're living. If you could do that, all your powers in the now, as you know, Eckhart Tolle, I love his books. All your powers in the now. Like we talked about earlier, always back to center. Life is going to throw you off. We're driving at 90 miles an hour on concrete slabs. Life is going to throw you off center. How fast you get back to center, that's the whole gig. That's the whole game. Some people stay out, as you know, for weeks, months, years. I just, I remember I was going with my friend to her friend's house. She's like, all the curtains are drawn. It's really dark there. Her mom passed away. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. When that happened? She goes, 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. She's got to go through stages of loss. She's got to, yeah, so some people just get locked in and hold on, as you know. So
yeah,
how fast you get back to center is everything.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, some people, I just talked to somebody today and they've been grieving, for a while. Let me just put it that way, and a bunch of things and sad and all this stuff. And I understand, like it can take a while, right? It took you a while with your divorce and stuff, like at the time, but I think like some people they do pitch the tent sometimes. I do believe that. And, unnecessarily because, that they don't have to do that. They have a choice, but they may not realize they have a choice. So yeah, if you don't want to pitch a tent and you want to move through something quicker and get to the other side of it, someone like Kelly is a great opportunity to do that because the type of things he does help people rapidly. And, it's not like a long haul kind of thing to, shift your energy. And even if you've been depressed a long time, sometimes things like, from my knowledge and knowing Kelly, imagining the way you are, these things can clear up quickly. Massive anxiety, panic attacks every day, massive depression, things like hypnosis and the other gifts he has and things that I have to bring to you. I'm sure can, help you a lot more rapidly potentially than you realize.
Yeah, it needs to be more well known. I've had so many clients, one recently last week that went to the hospital because they're having a panic attack. They tested him out. Everything's fine, of course.
Yeah.
And one client I had a couple years ago, he was out here in Vegas actually, went to the hospital. He thought he was having a heart attack. And not only did they say you're having an anxiety attack, a panic attack, he gave him my number. He said, call Kelly. I'm like, well, let me talk to this doctor. I get some referrals. But he's like, you need to straighten this out inside. And like you said, in a very short period of time. He was rebalanced, wasn't arguing with the wife and the kids when he come home, the in-laws. I mean, just once you balance the inside, everything outside just seems to fall in place.
Yeah, that's so true. All right. Well, Kelly, it's been so awesome having you here today. I appreciate your energy, your fun energy, and you're great. You've studied so much. You're so diligent, and I really appreciate who you are.
I appreciate your time, Dan. Thank you for having me on. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.